as predicted, she made a grand return to the Young Turks finally after like ditching the show for about a week to go hang out with Tucker Carlson, which you're going to hear a lot about. The great time they had in rural Maine at his charming, quaint little bodega off a seaside shack manned by local fishermen. That's what we're about to hear about. Are you excited, Zach?
I haven't watched this yet. I saw your tweet about it. That's about as much as I've seen. And I'm not surprised. I knew he was recording somewhere, and I'm cosplaying as a working class guy. I do love rural Maine. Cards on the table. It's a beautiful part of the country.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
So I understand in that sense why Anna had a good time there. However, you would never catch me fucking within 100 miles of Tucker Carlson unless I was there to antagonize him explicitly.
I'm going to take yes for an answer on those issues.
Yeah, and just seeing. But one of the main reasons why I decided to go on his podcast is because I'm curious about him, right? Like, we see him in the media, we hear what he has to say, but it's entirely different to get to experience it for yourself. And he lives in rural Maine. It is as rural as it gets. He employs locals. He lives pretty modestly considering how unbelievably wealthy he is. I mean, not only was his biological mother wealthy, his adoptive mother was also incredibly wealthy, an heir to the Swanson fortune. And he lives in a rural part of the country in a modest home. Like, it just, you would expect him to live in like a mega mansion in Beverly Hills or something, but that's not the case, which I thought.
No, he has a mega mansion.
2 mega mansions in Florida. Before we watch the rest of this, I think it's necessary to illustrate the reality of the situation for you guys. So no, he does not live in a modest, super rural Maine home. A quick fucking Google search, guys, will reveal to you that Tucker Carlson owns multiple properties, including homes in Florida and Maine. In Florida, he has 2 mansions. In Boca Grande, one purchased in 2020 for $2.9 million, and another one next door. Yeah, imagine being so rich you can buy your fucking neighbor's house too. I have the whole cul-de-sac. He also owns a home in Maine near Bryant Pond, where he bought a separate building to potentially use as a studio. So, Zach, the house that he pretends that is his real residence, that he takes people like Anna to, is really just his glorified studio. I mean, I'm sure he has a fucking bed there. But let's be honest, his real houses are in Florida on Gasparilla Island. The island that Dave Rubin and Russell Brand told us about in this clip. Should we relive it one more time?
Absolutely.
Because again, this is where Tucker actually lives.
Russell, you were quite right about the strange racial dynamic over at the Gasparilla Inn. And every moment you're there, it becomes like more and more bizarre.
Yes, it's difficult to deny that there is a sort of a near 100% white customers, black staff.
Jillian, have you ever been to this place, Gasparilla Island?
No.
So it's Southwest Florida. That's where Tucker lives, actually. And the Gasparilla Inn is like their like elite place. And I just did this event there last night, and the staff was 100% black and the clientele was 100% white. It was like to the point that it was like extremely bizarre. Extremely
uncomfortable.
Bizarre, but he doesn't cancel his event there. He's happy to go along with it. Fucking idiot. But to your point, Gavin, do you know what this really reminds me of? Because when she's following hook, line, and sinker for his propaganda effort to make him look like a regular Joe. It reminds me of when Joe Rogan kept putting out this fake idea that Elon Musk lived in a tiny home. Do you remember when that was something that he would repeat constantly? He'd be like, this guy's a genius. He's the richest man in the world and he lives in a small home. It's a tiny shack. He sold all his other houses because he's crazy. This guy's crazy. He's a lunatic. All he wants to do is work. He's got all the money in the world. He wants to, go to Mars and cure cancer and do everything, man, because he's crazy. He's crazy, man. He just is never satisfied. He's always work.
Dude, people say that about Mark Zuckerberg too. I remember on Facebook, his own platform, a post that would routinely go viral was like, this is a picture of Mark Zuckerberg and his wife's actual house. And it was just like a normal family home in some like, you know, working class suburb.
Yeah,
And it
working
was
class suburb in San Jose that's not $2 million for a house like that because Mark Zuckerberg ruined it with his crony friends.
Yeah, and then obviously not pictured is there like 4 vacation homes where they actually live. Yeah. And that's the thing about being so rich. It's like, yeah, you know, if you're rich enough to have 5 homes, one of them can be a little quaint, you know, house just like a normal folk would live in. That's what you can do. And then, but out of the picture is my, you know, my Mykonos resort and my Hawaiian mansion. And like, you know, and that's basically what Tucker's doing. But when he takes his guest to Maine, he says, yeah, look, I look around. I grew up here. I love rural Maine. This is where real folk live.
Yep. He's like, you know, listen, Anna's a little new to the Fourth Reich. Let's not take her to the plantation, okay? Let's let her get accustomed to our property up north in the Union Country. Yeah, she'll get acclimated over time, and we'll bring her down to the zone of interest. But for now, we're gonna mingle up with the fine folks up in Maine and dazzle her there.
Yep. You want to go back like 10 or 15 seconds just so we can relive this insane propaganda?
In a modest, and he lives in a rural part of the country in a modest home. Like it just, you would expect him to live in like a mega mansion in Beverly Hills or something, but that's not the case, which I thought was interesting. Now, but putting that aside, after we did the episode, you know, just like any other show, his team clipped out specific videos from our conversation. And one of the videos that got published is the following. Let's take a look at a graphic. This is what the thumbnail looks like.
React to. And yeah, they're also apparently real into this idea that Tucker's going to run for president. When I said that as a hot take the other day, I was like, this is a bold prediction. And apparently this is something they've been saying on there. So it's possible I heard someone else say it and then I just regurgitated it. But either way, it does seem like a lot of people are starting to, you know, think that he's going to run. And in this video, which we're not going to react to, but Anna asked him about it. And he's like, oh no, I have no interest in running for president unless a higher power told me to or something. I would never do that. And it's like, okay, well, obviously, then, yeah, a higher power is, I'm sure, conveniently going to tell you to right in time for it to happen. It's hilarious that he added that caveat as if people are too stupid to realize that that's clearly him laying the groundwork.
Yeah, I feel like we've been on the Tucker Carlson as a potential 2028 dark horse for longer than anyone else. Obviously, we talked about it the other day, but we talked about it a while before then. This is not the first time we've speculated about it. In fact, it may have even come up during our Ettinger Mentum conversation. Yeah. And before then, we would have referenced it on the show. So yeah, if that happens, if he does, that's another point for the Oracle.
Yeah, there you go. I'm going to claim that I was the first one to predict that. Either way,
I think there's a real chance. I was even talking to Salisa about that last night. She was like, do you guys really think there's a chance that Tucker Carlson, you know, runs? And I was like, I'm not sure. But if he, and I'm still kind of on the fence about it. I'll take the position, no, he's not going to actually run and that this is all bait, just so that, you know, we have that dichotomy on the show. But if he did run, I think he would win. So let make that clear. My thing is this could all be just branding in the same way that Jimmy Doherty's running for president when he had no intention of doing it to like drum up his base.
And he didn't have the Murdochs offering to fund him. If he had, he would have been like, hell yeah, baby.
I understand that. But obviously Tucker has a lot more going for him than Jimmy Dore does. And I think that is what might hold him back. Like his life is too good between his, you know, folksy charm place up in Maine and his 2 mega mansions next door to each other in South Florida. So that would be my only resistance. And also just because I do not want this to happen. I do not want it to happen. So I can't come out here and be like, well, it's going to, I'm like, no, it's not.
Yeah. And we need to be, as a left, as a serious progressive anti-Zionist left, we need to be screaming about the reality of who Tucker Carlson is, so that the nightmare scenario that I've been warning about doesn't happen in 2028, where the Democrats nominate some corporate fucking Zionist goon, and then the Republican Party is able to claim the anti-war, anti-Zionist lane by nominating some freaking phony liar like Tucker Carlson, who's kind of saying some of the right things and being given platform by Cenk and Anna. People like that on the left to be like, see, this guy's legit. Ignore everything we've ever said about him. Ignore all of his lies and hypocrisy and blatant manipulation and corruption over his entire career. He's finally saying the thing we want. So let's, you know, take him at face value and not further investigate his motives or what's actually going on here. Here's another example before we move on, Zach, of Cenk, for just no fucking reason, giving credit to someone who in the very next breath he admits is still being a belligerent racist piece of shit.
And by the way, I like the smell of halal food. Like, I don't mind that at all.
Yeah.
But anyway, go ahead.
So look, that's where he's populist right wing, right? He says obnoxious things like the smell of halal food, like as if that's some sort of terrible thing,
Halal
right? But if you notice, he also
the carts, obviously.
Yeah, that's like what he's apparently Tucker, like, still randomly makes comments about how halal food like smells gross or something.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, and Jake's just like, even though he says that, he's powering down on the culture war.
did say minimize trans issues. So that's him powering down on the culture wars, because it's not like he hasn't powered up. I mean, it's not like he's not the one that did the Eminem segments and a million other segments, right? So, and in the conversation with Ana, he said many times that he had apologized for some of his past positions. I don't know which positions. I don't know which ones.
He has. In researching and listening to episode after episode of his podcast, he does denounce himself on specific things that he has said in the past that he regrets.
Yeah. So,
like cheerleading for the war when it was important to not cheerlead for the war. Gee, thanks, Tucker. 20 years later, when the entire party's against it, pat yourself on the back.
Yeah. And Anna's like, oh, in my research, watching episode after episode it's like, I'm pretty sure that wasn't your research. Pretty sure that was just your new fucking feed. That's your new, what you see when you open YouTube is the latest fucking Tucker and the latest Candace Owens, because you're in that, part of the internet now. That's your crowd, and those are the podcasts you watch. What's really disgusting is you're laundering his reputation instead of doing your actual fucking job, which is to be a journalist and say, what's going on here? Yes, Tucker's right about Palestine. He's right about Iran, but what's actually going on here? Why is he changing his tune? Why is he trying to manipulate us? And how is this similar to exactly what Donald Trump did? These people want to complain about the situation they're in, but then fucking, sleepwalk us into the exact same thing. By convincing their audience to vote for another phony, fucking faux populist right-wing liar who pretends to be anti-war despite having an entire career that says otherwise. That's what's happening. They're barely being fucking critical. They're like, yeah, he might have said the thing about the sexy green M&M that he wanted to fuck, but thank God he's moved on to being based and to inviting us to his plantation homes around the country.
Yeah, it's absolutely fucking laughable. And we played the clip the other day of Cenk saying, here's how Tucker Carlson, spins you into his web. Here's how he takes you for all your worth, right? This is how he humiliates you to his audience. He's really nice to you and it disarms you. And then he goes out there and he basically gets you to pretend that he's right about everything the whole time. And if you disagree, he moves on. So what does that do? He then has a person who's all the way on the left who he can present to his audience and be like, see, even the left wingers think I'm reasonable. It's only the crazy lunatics out here who are critical of the positions that we take. Really, everybody is with us. Let me push on with the black bagging of undocumented people. Let me push on with the cheerleading for deportations. Let me push on with all of Donald Trump's financial crimes. I'm going to cover up for all of that. I'm going to make sure that I don't, have anything to say about how we're going to give, tax breaks to the richest and the cost of living is going to go up for the poorest. I'm not going to antagonize Trump over his tariffs, right? We're not going to do any of that shit. We're not going to talk about Donald Trump's brazen criminality while I'm on this show. Right? They didn't spend any time talking about all those things that Tucker's apologized for, right? We didn't mention it a single time during the entire, watch along. So all those things, it's like, well, then it just adds up to you being a useful idiot.
Yep, 100%.
Look out the door if you hear an ambulance. The Vanguard will be there, sir.